What is Micrograd? It is a scalar-valued autograd engine that implements backpropagation. It functions like a simplified PyTorch, but without the complexity of tensors. This scalar approach is for education. Real-world applications use tensors for parallel operations and speed. Also, none of the math changes for tensors in PyTorch. What is autograd? Short for automatic gradient. It is a system that automatically tracks every mathematical operation and builds a computational graph of those operations. What is backpropagation? It is an algorithm that efficiently computes derivatives of a loss function with respect to all weights using the chain rule. It allows us to iteratively tune the weights to minimize the loss, thus improving accuracy. Specifically, it works by applying the chain rule backward from the output of the network all the way to the inputs. It is a mathematical core of modern libraries like PyTorch or JAX. Backpropagation is a general algorithm. It is not limited to neural networks. What is a loss function? It is a function that measures how wrong the prediction is. It takes the model's prediction and the correct answer, and produces a single number called the loss. What is a gradient? It is a vector of partial derivatives that points in the direction of steepest increase of a function. In machine learning, we go to the opposite way to the steepest descent, thus gradient descent. What is a vector? In machine learning, it is an ordered set of values representing a point in weight space. In our case, it is simply a list of numbers where each number is a specific weight in the network. Why partial derivative? Because we want to see how a function behaves if we nudge just one variable. Neural networks have millions or billions of variables, and that way we isolate that single weight while keeping all other weights fixed. What is a derivative? To understand how a function behaves when we change some variable, we calculate the slope. The slope is just a single number. It tells us how fast the output is changing with respect to the input at a specific point. Normally, a slope requires 2 points to calculate rise over run. But in neural networks, we don't know what the full loss function looks like with respect to the model's weights. We only know its value at our current set of weights. So instead of using 2 known points, we imagine a second point extremely close to where we are. We take our current input x and apply a tiny nudge called h. We express our rise as the difference between our new position f of x plus h and our starting point f of x, and the run as x plus h minus x or h. Now, if we make h incredibly small, this is the instantaneous part. Those 2 points move so close together, they are almost in the same spot. This gives us the slope at a single specific point. The derivative is what all this becomes when h is getting to 0 as close as possible, but not actually 0. That's why you often see a limit near this formula. The derivative is the number that tells you how much the output changes when you gently nudge the input. What is neural network? It is a massive function made of many smaller functions stacked together with learnable parameters or weights. It takes input data, performs some operation using weights of the neural network, and outputs the result. Let's look at the derivative example. Say we have this function. Now let's plot it. If we look at different values of x, we get these outputs. Notice what happens around x equals 2/3. The slope or rate of change is very close to 0. That means small changes in x at that point barely affect the output. And it makes sense even by just looking at the graph. As mentioned earlier, a neural network is essentially one large mathematical expression. So we need a data structure that can represent and keep track of that expression. This is our first stage of a value class that will hold those expressions. As you can see, we're defining Python's magic methods using this double underscore syntax. In the init method, we initialize each value object with its core attributes. We use tuple for children because it is immutable. We convert tuple to set for constant speed. Wrapper method is used to nicely print data from value object. With add, we can add 2 value objects just like that. Mul method is the same but for multiplication. Now we are able to do this, and we can draw it. We have built a mathematical expression using only plus and times for a forward pass that produces a single output. Later some of those nodes will represent weights of the neural network. Now we want to do backpropagation. We start at the end and work backwards through every node all the way to the beginning, calculating the gradients of each node with respect to the output. We use chain rule for that. To support this, we will add a new variable to the value object that will maintain the gradient. It will be called grad and initially it will be 0. Let's use a single neuron as our example for manual backpropagation. We will use 10H activation as a nonlinear function in this example. It maps any input value to a range between -1 and +1. Since we've implemented only plus and times, we also need to implement exponentiation. For the purpose of this example, we don't necessarily need all atomic pieces in our value object. That said, we can create functions on arbitrary points of abstraction. There can be complex functions or simple ones like plus. It's entirely our choice. The only thing that matters is we know how to differentiate the function. So all you need is to know how to calculate a local derivative. This is a graph for our neuron, and we are ready to fill the gradients. Again, from the end to the beginning. What is the derivative of O with respect to O? It's proportional, and therefore it will be just 1. Next, what is the derivative of tanh? Next, when you see a plus, it's just a distributor of the gradient. So the gradient will simply flow to the next nodes equally. And that's because the local derivative of that is 1 for every node. Next we have a plus again. Remember that each intermediate derivative represents the sensitivity of the final loss to a change in the specific value. Now what is the derivative of x1 and for x2? And finally the derivative for w1 and w2. Backpropagation is done. Here are all the gradients. It is very tedious to make it manually, so now we will automate it. To support this, we will add backward to our value object. It will store a function that applies the chain rule at a specific node. Now we need to add a backward closure to every operation like plus, times, and so on. Let's start with the plus operation. That backward is not called immediately when you do addition. It's just defined and stored during forward pass. As you can see, we're assigning gradients to the nodes that were used to get the out value. The 1.0 is a local derivative, and it is multiplied by the gradient from the out value. It is the same chain rule that we did before. We will use the plus equal sign on every operation, because the same node can be used in multiple operations. If you use equals instead of plus equals, calling backward on the second operation that involves the same node would override the gradient from the first, because self and other would be the same object. Also, this accumulation of gradients is backed by multivariable calculus. Now the sequence is: forward pass, build the graph, backward functions get stored but not called. Set the final output grad as 1. Call backward on each node going backwards for backpropagation. Next we have multiplication, the same chain rule as always. And finally for the tanh, we already know the local derivative of tanh. Now we are basically done, so we can instead of this, do that. We are just calling backward for each node, and we get the same result. Now the last thing is to get rid of the manual backward call for each node. For this we make a topological sort of the graph. That means we will build a list of all nodes ordered from inputs to output, then we reverse it and call backward on each one. This is the code for topological sort for our graph. As you can see, it is a depth-first search algorithm. That means for each node it first recursively visits all children, then appends the node itself. So by the time a node is added to the list, all the nodes it depends on are already in the list. For our case, it would look like this. Then we reverse it and call backward for each node in the list. We get the same gradients as before. Finally, we're going to hide this functionality in our value object. And after we call backward, we get the same gradients. Now we will add some workarounds for certain cases like a plus 1 and a times 1. We will just wrap the other in value. We will do the same for multiplication. Then we will add a workaround for cases like 1 plus a and 1 times a. To handle this, we will define those methods in the value class. When Python can't do the operation from the left side, it swaps the order and tries from the right. Now we will add some new operations like division, subtraction, and exponentiation. Here is the exponentiation. The local derivative is out.data because the derivative of e to the x is e to the x. Next is division. Since mathematically division can be expressed as a times b raised to the negative 1, we will define the division like this. And we will also define the power function. We will force the other to be int or a float, because if it was a value instance, the derivative formula would be completely different. It should be a constant. The local derivative looks like this because of the power rule from calculus. Next is subtraction. We will define it like this. As you can see, we don't need to implement backward logic for them, because the logic is already handled by mul and add. Now we can reconstruct tanh here, and we get this. Then we run backpropagation on that and draw the graph. As you can see, the graph is larger because we reconstructed the tanh. Also, the forward pass output is the same, and the gradients are exactly the same because operations are mathematically equivalent. Everything is correct. We practiced a few new operations and saw that the level of abstraction for any operation is up to you. Now we will do the exact same thing using a modern deep learning library like PyTorch, which Micrograd is roughly modeled after. Micrograd works only with scalar values like 2.0, but in PyTorch everything is based around tensors, and tensors are n-dimensional arrays of scalars. That's why we need to do something like this. We just need a scalar value tensor. a tensor with a single element. But usually when you work with PyTorch, you would use more complicated tensors, like this. So we created our single scalar tensors, and we are casting them to be double, because Python by default uses double precision for float. Next, because those are leaf nodes, PyTorch by default assumes they do not require gradients, because usually you would not want gradients for leaf nodes like the inputs to the network. It is for efficiency, so we need to explicitly say that all of them require gradients. Next, we make the math just like before during Micrograd setup. Just like in Micrograd, values have data and grad attributes. The only difference is that we need to call .item on them, because otherwise PyTorch returns a tensor object instead of a plain Python number. Next, we run this. PyTorch has a backward function, just like the one we implemented. And after running, we get the same forward pass output, as well as the gradients, so PyTorch agrees with us. Basically, PyTorch can do what we did in Micrograd, just as a special case where all your tensors are single element tensors. But the big deal with PyTorch is efficiency. Operations run on tensors instead of individual scalars, which means we can process entire arrays of numbers in parallel. But otherwise, Micrograd very much agrees with the API of PyTorch. Now that we have the tools to build complex mathematical expressions, we can start building neural networks. As we know, neural nets are just a specific class of mathematical expressions. We will build a multi-layer perceptron. Let's start with a single individual neuron. We already built one before, but now we will implement one that also follows the PyTorch API and its neural network module design. The init will take the number of inputs to the neuron. Then it creates a weight that is a random number between -1 and +1 for every input, and the bias that controls the overall happiness of that neuron. Next, we have a call method. This method lets your object behave like a function. Call will make pairwise multiplication between each input and its corresponding weight. The zip takes two iterables and combines them into an iterator of tuples. Then we sum those products. Bias is already included because of that, and after that we pass the result into a nonlinearity. Now we can forward pass a single neuron. Next, we will define a layer of neurons. A layer of neurons is just a list of neurons evaluated independently. The init takes the number of inputs and number of neurons you want to have in a layer. Those initialized neurons are independent of each other. Then method call is independently evaluating them. Now we can forward pass through a layer of neurons. And finally, we will define MLP class. In MLP, layers just fit into each other sequentially. The init takes the number of inputs as before, and an outs is a list that defines the size of all the layers that we want in MLP. Then we iterate over consecutive pairs of these sizes and create layer objects for them. Then in the call function, we're calling them sequentially. That's it, our MLP is done. We can implement this picture now. 3 inputs, 2 layers of 4 neurons, and output. Here is the result of our forward pass. To make so that our single output isn't wrapped in a list, we can modify the call function in the layer class like this, and now it's nicer. We are also able to draw graph for that MLP. Backpropagate this on paper will be a nightmare, but with Micrograd we're able to do that. For example, we have this dataset and these targets. Let's see how our untrained MLP makes predictions. As we can see, the predictions could be better. Now, how do we tune the weights to make better predictions? The trick is to calculate a single number that measures the total performance of our neural net. The loss. We will implement a squared loss. For that, we will iterate over tuples of targets and predictions, subtract them, and square. Squaring ensures we always get a positive number. Let's see the losses. They mean that if a prediction is close to the target, then the loss is low. And if prediction is far off from the target, then the loss is high. So the final loss will be the sum of those individual losses. Now we want to minimize this loss, because if the loss is low, then the prediction is equal to its target. If we do loss.backward, we will be able to see the gradients. Like that. We see this particular gradient of this particular weight is negative. That means that its influence on the loss is also negative. So slightly increasing this weight would make the loss go down. By the way, we can draw graph for our 4 forward passes with loss on top of them, and we get this massive scary picture. On top we get the loss value that we've just calculated. The loss will now backpropagate through all the 4 forward passes, all the way back to the weights and inputs. As you can see, inputs have gradients, but these gradients on inputs are not that useful to us, because the input data is fixed, so we want to change the W's and B's. Now we're going to implement code for gathering all the parameters of the neural net, so we can operate on all of them simultaneously, and every one of them we will nudge a tiny amount based on the gradient information. First, we will modify neuron class like that. We are calling it like that because PyTorch also has a parameters on every single NN module. It just returns the parameter tensors, and for us as the parameter scalars. Next, we will modify layer class like this, or like this for short. And finally, we will modify MLP class like this. So now we are able to see the parameters. In total, this MLP has 41 parameters, and now we are able to change them. If we go back to our particular weight, we want to slightly change this weight data using gradient descent. Remember that the gradient is the vector that points in the direction of steepest increase of a function, but we want to minimize the loss function. Here is how we implement this. The negative sign is for minimizing the loss. Alpha is the learning rate. If it's too high, we overshoot the minimum of the loss function and never converge. If it's too low, it will take too long to converge. After running, the weight data is slightly increased, and this decreases the loss. All we have to do now is to iterate this process. So the training sequence is forward pass, calculate the loss, zero the gradients, because the new gradients will add to the old ones, and we don't want that. Backward pass, update parameters. Finally, after running, we get this. The loss is quite low after training, and here are all the final predictions. And that was the Micrograd speedrun. It is... Ты, сука, что-то